各位好，各位公眾, this is Crystal Racing with how have Red Bull and Aston Martin got off the blocks so quickly? Starting off with Red Bull, of course, with the 2022 regulations. Adrian Newey is the only man who was working in F1 back in 1982 when F1 last had ground effects. Hence, Red Bull having quite considerable advantage, and as you know, due to, of course, the performance/budget cap quota regulations, as well as the penalty they incurred for overspending in 2021, they can only use 63% wind tunnel time, factory time, and of course 63% of the allocated budget set by the FIA. But with Adrian Newey, they can find the solutions very quickly. Their design team is absolutely top notch, and of course they've got Max Verstappen in the lead car. Like, mate, they could literally be restricted to just 50% of all the performance quotas allowed, wind tunnel, factory time, budget, money, all of that, and they will still win this championship. They're so far ahead. As for Aston Martin, of course, Lewis Hamilton did make a comment the past week saying that they've got half of our car. Now, what does he mean? Aston Martin have a Mercedes engine, they have a Mercedes gearbox, they have a Mercedes rear end, and they also used the Mercedes wind tunnel due to, of course, 10 years ago, back when they were called Force India, they had a technical agreement with Mercedes that they could use their wind tunnel and other design tools. Aston Martin still have that agreement in place, amazingly enough. Lawrence Stroll is a smart man, you've got to give it to him. Still taking advantage of all the goodies that Force India had back in the day, and it's working to full fruition. Of course, they've also got Dan Fallows from Red Bull working as their aerodynamicist. He's doing a fantastic job, you know. He's also smart enough not to follow the route of creating those zero side pods like Mercedes, who, mind you, have got many problems. You know, they've not only mucked up with the zero side pods, but the car just isn't producing enough downforce, and it's a bit draggy. Whilst Aston Martin, okay, there is a little bit of drag on the car, but they have gone for maximum downforce, hence the speed around Bahrain. Although, of course, they could be even more competitive at other tracks like Catalonia, Hungary, Singapore, and Monaco, due to the fact they have focused on maximising grip and downforce. And then, of course, there's a subject of Ferrari. Of course, the new ride height rules that were brought in mid-season in August last year completely threw them off the deck. They've not recovered. The speed gains are completely gone. They can't really fight with Red Bull. And, of course, to rub salt into the wounds, one of their aerodynamicists, one of their senior aerodynamic engineers, has also departed the team after just one race into the year. And we shouldn't forget that Charles Leclerc was forced to replace one of his control electronics, and you're only allowed 2 of those control electronics for the entire season. And that was before the race started at Bahrain. You know, I know that was a very quick explanation, but, you know, if I want to go and talk about other teams and other drivers, Daniel Joe, I'm going to say this, okay, I'm being harsh here, but if you look at his junior results, only junior title was, of course, winning the Formula 3 Asian Championship in 2021 when he was 22 years old, up against a bunch of 17 and 18-year-olds. I'm not impressed by that, if I'm going to be honest. Of course, he also finished second in the Italian Formula 4 Championship back in 2050 when he was starting out, and he did look like a promising talent, but in the 3 years of Formula 3 he did in the Euro Series, he only managed to win 1 race. Then, of course, you know, 3 years of Formula 2 followed, where again he only won about 4 races and had a highest finish of 3rd place. But realistically, was he ever in contention for the title in 2021 against Piastri and Ticktum? Not quite, and I think Porterio's a bit better than him. As for Yuki Tsunoda, this is his last chance, but of course he did beat De Vries in qualifying in the race. Good start for him. Whilst McLaren are in dire trouble. They look more like a marketing company than an actual racing team. I mean, Andrea Steele is coming out saying, well, the car was actually faster than we thought it was. Well, that's a disaster because the car's actually really slow. So I can only assume that the whole McLaren team thought they were going to be even slower, meaning that they could well be finishing P10 this year. Lance Stroll did very well in the circumstances with his injured wrist and his injured ankle. Superb job. He could be running Fernando close at times this year. You never know. Then, of course, the other teams, Williams, well, they've got Dorrington Capital. I mean, Dorrington Capital are just using the team as a hedge fund, unfortunately, and they are pretty much waiting for someone to buy that team for more money than they bought it for. But that's not going to happen because Williams are at the back of the grid. I mean, unless Williams really become a more consistent team, producing strong results on a more regular basis, Dorrington could well end up selling the team for less than what they bought it for. Not a smart move by that hedge fund company. And then, of course, who else? There's Alfa Romeo, Williams, Haas. Don't know what on earth is going on at Haas. I mean, I'm just going to make this general point now. You know, look, I have to say, I am beginning to think the way the sport is going, we're basically going to end up with Spec Chassis cars soon. Most of the teams behind Aston Martin are not really investing the money into the cars to really develop them so that they can really close up onto the big three teams, you know, take advantage of the performance budget cap regulations because, you know, they got more money, but the problem is they do not have the engineers nor the facilities to really improve the cars to the point they can actually challenge the big three, even though Mercedes and Ferrari themselves are in an absolute catastrophic mess. This is a missed opportunity. I mean, at this rate, yeah, we are heading towards a spec formula, and hell, if we have more races like we saw at Bahrain, at this rate, like, if Formula 1 is to continue in its, like, true, pure car constructing Formula 4 form, like we saw back in 2002, then we might as well cram 8 races into 4 race weekends and just be done with it. You know, have, like, 1 race weekend once every 2 or 3 months, and then in between, we just have a new championship called the Grand Prix 1 Series, where everyone gets a spec car, and we get to have way more entertainment during those races than we do on a standard F1 weekend. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and I'll see you again next time.